Hello everyone. Welcome to day 6 of Unit 8B, solving polynomial equations. So to set up the reason for what we're doing today, I'm going to ask you to try these two warm-up problems. So we have two quadratic equations, okay, and I want you to solve them by either factoring and or graphing. So I want you to pause the video. This should be a quick check for understanding. Like I said, pause the video, try, and unpause when you're ready to check your solutions. Okay, so the first one I was able to factor and I got x equals 2 and 1. I also could have gotten the same solutions by graphing and identifying my two x-intercepts of 1 and 2 as well. Now on the second one I got a little stumped because I was trying to solve it and I was trying to think of two numbers that multiply to -2 and sum to +2, and I could not find anything. So I was not able to factor at all. I can graph it, so let me type that into Desmos and see what happens. So when I graphed it, I did get solutions of -2.732 and 0.732, but the problem is those are now approximate, right? So those are the right answers, but we're now working on finding exact solutions. So I'm going to put a question mark there. And if I think through the methods we know, right, like so factoring doesn't work, graphing doesn't work. Again, we're talking about this one. Inverse operation doesn't work because I have two variables. I have an x squared and an x, and so I can't isolate that. And so that's what we're going to be doing, is learning our fourth method. If we go back up to our learning target, it says I can use the discriminant, so let's define it. So by, the discriminant is b squared minus 4ac, okay? To determine the number and type of solutions to a quadratic equation and sketch its graph. So you're going to watch the next video, and we're going to learn how to determine the number and type of solutions of a quadratic equation. So by the end of day 7, okay, so by the end of the next day's lesson, you're going to learn what's called the quadratic formula. And the quadratic formula is going to help us, okay, know how to solve this quadratic, which is the one we were just talking on the above example. And so the quadratic formula, we're learning it because it always works, okay? But the problem, well, always works to find, I should say, exact solutions, right? Okay? But the problem is it's tedious. It takes time, okay? And so the quadratic formula is a formula, kind of like a slope formula, right? Like we input points and we get a slope. But again, it's tedious. So I'm going to write it out for us right now. And so why don't you fill that in your notes too? So my solution, x, is always going to equal opposite of b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. And hopefully you're asking, what's a, what's b, and what's c? That's a great question. Those are the coefficients of any quadratic. So remember, we have like ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0 is a quadratic in standard form, okay? So in terms of the formula, b is the coefficient. So in this case, it'd be a +2. What do I see next? And a is the leading coefficient right there, so a would go there. And then we have c, which is our constant, which we calculated right there. So what we're going to end up doing is inputting those values and calculating the exact solutions. Now, this is a big formula, okay? And so what we're doing today is we're only focusing on this part. Okay, this is called the discriminant.